All right, everybody. Here we are with the article for today. You can, of course, read this article on your own. I've attached it, but I'm also going to read it here for you so you can just read along, and hopefully, this will help you understand it and hear a little better. So, why are so many women absent from India's workforce? India's rapid economic growth has come along with falling fertility rates, which means women having less children, and higher educational levels for women. These things normally lead to an increase in women entering the labor force and working outside of the home more. But there's been a surprising decline in India. Less than 30% of working age women are currently in work compared to 80% of working age men in India. In India, female labor force participation fell from 35% in 1990 to 27% in 2018. Check that for one of your answers. So there are actually less women working in India than even 20 years ago. India still does better than its neighbor Pakistan, where the rates increased from 14% to now just 25%, which is still less than India. But India lags behind countries with similar growing economies and large populations like China and Brazil. There are regional and demographic differences across the country. India is one of the most diverse countries in the world. Rural women have higher participation rates than urban women, meaning women in the farms and countrysides have more jobs than women in the cities. Married women, less educated women, and wealthier women from the higher castes are less likely to participate in the labor market. So here's the second part of the article, the blue section. Reasons for the decline. Both economic and cultural reasons explain women falling out of India's labor force. The latest evidence suggests that the total number of jobs in India is on the decline. This is a serious problem for a country with growing younger population. In particular, India has struggled to create manufacturing jobs, many of which prefer women. So, without the jobs being created, there are even less for women to access. This is the opposite of countries like India's neighbor Bangladesh that experienced a booming export-led manufacturing sector that led to more employment opportunities for women. Here we see a picture of a group of women working in a jewelry manufacturing. The number of women staying in education in both urban and rural areas has increased, keeping them out of the workforce for longer. So education's increased, but workforce has not. But even when staying in school is accounted for, the numbers of women working remains below men. For men, greater education leads to higher participation in the labor force. For women, India has seen an increase in women's education, but not more jobs. Across India, there are cultural expectations that married women should not work and that they should prioritize housework and care work. A survey on social attitudes in 2016 found that around 40% of men and 60% of women believe married women should not work if the husband earns some money at a job. Another factor keeping women out of the workforce is the wider problem of violence against women. Sexual violence and an unsafe environment for women also stops them from seeking paid work outside their homes. This is especially the case for Muslim and poor lower caste women. All right, last section here, reversing the decline. So this will help you with the last three questions. Gender equality is an important goal in and of itself. Research shows that when women work, they have a greater agency, power, and voice. Plus, increasing the number of women in work is important for any country's economic growth, leading to better productivity and improving prospects for future generations. There are a number of ways to boost the number of women working. Fixing the cultural reasons that result in women leaving the workforce could be one such way. Changing social norms about gender equity in women's work is most important. This is where awareness programs and affirmative action policies, which means hiring more women, may help lessen gender stereotypes. The 2017 Maternity Benefit Act, by increasing paid maternity leave, may also help to limit the dropout of women from work after motherhood. Access to free childcare may also free up time for women to engage in the labor force. It is estimated that if more women enter the workforce in India, they could increase their GDP by 60%. The new government must take into account India's growing gender employment gap and specifically think about jobs for women if it wants to reduce this gap and help boost the country's economy.